They, oh, hang on, I lost it. They just left today. They moved in their apartment in Durham.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, it was intense.
I bet.
But good.
Good. Excellent. So I'll make full screen. And hello, Sandra and companion. I assume Sandra is the lady and the companion is a guy. Rainey, Lawrence, Michael, and Meredith. Meredith, have we met before? I don't remember your face.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
So nice to meet you and welcome.
Timers. So this Merritt Field is, I took a photo with my iPhone from my cabin. I'm at an Airbnb down near the radiation center, so I put it up like Yeshua has the Tibetan prayer flags behind him and Donna has flowers. Works pretty easily if you ever want to do it yourself. Carmen.
Yes. Hi.
Santiago, no, Carmen.
Yeah, thank you.
And Elise, hi Elise, and hi everyone. So we've got just 2 minutes. We're about to start. Thanks for coming early, some of you. I still have some incontinence problems, so if I suddenly say, let's take a break, it'll be for 2 minutes. Hopefully, maybe I can get through the session, maybe not, we'll see. Hi, Joyce Ruditsky.
Hi.
Hi, Lawrence is not on yet. Okay. So you all have your book? Oh, how come it's not showing up? Oh, there it is.
Oh.
Strange. Maybe because of the background. You
Yeah,
all
the
have
background
your-
does strange things.
How interesting. Oh, there it is. You all have your book, right?
Not everybody has the book, Venerable
Not
George.
everyone does? Okay.
Let's do.
Okay. So Lawrence, Barbara. Okay, so we've got 30 seconds. So Donna, we're going to start in a second. You're in charge of recording, right? Or is it recording
Yes,
anyway?
yes, we're live streaming right now, so that records the session.
Okay. Michael, Lawrence, Giovanna, Paravi. Okay, time.
You ready to start?
Yes.
Okay, Venerable George, if we may, we would like to start with offering you a mandala. And I'm going to go ahead and find Laura and add
Laura's
her
up
to the
there.
spotlight
Okay.
so we can see her.
Okay.
And, oh, you're not spotlighted. You should be spotlighted, Venerable George.
No, no.
Well, I'll spotlight Laura for now, and then we'll, excuse me while I be a little bit,
I'll say hello to the others
yeah.
still coming on, some other people. we go.
Okay. So I won't add this to the screen. We'll just go ahead.
So the mandala is considered to be sort of the condensation of all the offerings that one can make. So you imagine, inner, outer, secret, suchness, mandala, give your whole being to the omniscient mind, which manifests as our spiritual teachers and so forth. So it's a very positive thing to start off with. So I'll leave it up to Laura or whoever's chanting or talking.
Okay, I'll chant. Saji puki jukshin metog tramri rabling shi ni de gen padi sangye jingdu mikte uai Drokunam dakshin la chuparsho Jetsun lama dampa kenam ki chuki kala kien se chu tin trig Chitar champe tuje din mala samke chuki charpa wap tu sol idam guru ratna mandala kamiriya chayami.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I also made offering. So let's begin with just a few minutes of meditation and concentration, getting rid of the discursive thoughts from your mind and trying to set a good motivation. So sit comfortably, your spine straight, eyes partially opened. Relax your body, relax your mind, which can mean just remind yourself you don't have to think of anything else right now. Just relax your mind and pay attention to your breathing, respiration. Once you've recognized it, you can keep it in mind. You can be mindful of it. And just place your mindfulness on the breathing in front to the exclusion of everything else. Because all our mental activity is mounted on some prana, some air, subtle airs within our nervous system, energy currents. Watching the breathing helps to cut down on conceptuality. You're just focusing on one thing. Whatever thoughts come to your mind, don't follow them. Just put your energy into watching the breathing. And once you have a little bit of settling of the mind, quieting of the mind, let go of the breathing. of watching the breathing, and instead watch your mental consciousness. That in which you think, not your eye, ear, nose, tongue, or body consciousness. Oh, many things may appear. Memories, plans, observations about the present, emotional states, anger, attachment, jealousy, whatever. A sense of me, I, meditating. All of these are appearances to your mental consciousness. Try to go beyond them and sense the nature of the mind from which they are arising. We call it the conventional clear light nature of the mind. It doesn't hinder thoughts from entering or leaving. This nature of our mind, conventional nature of our mind, is referred to as the conventional Buddha nature. Usually we talk about the emptiness of the mind, the ultimate nature of the mind, as being the non-abiding Buddha nature, but the developmental Buddha nature, the fact that we can transform, also depends on this nature, conventional nature of the mind, as not obscuring thoughts, not hindering them. We can develop all the great spiritual qualities, compassion, wisdom, renunciation, Bodhichitta. There is no reason why we can't. The fact that we can recognize this right now is due to the fact that we have a life of leisure and endowment. Because of karma we created in previous lives as a human, being at a time when the Buddha Dharma exists, having interest and support in the practice. And this life can be used for the great purposes of achieving liberation or enlightenment, or maybe lesser but very positive aims, meanings to achieve Dharma realizations that will stay with us. The imprints of them will stay with us in future lives. So not to have to start off without any inkling of familiarity with Buddhism in future lives. This life is fleeting, is impermanent, transitory, and with every instant we're headed toward our inevitable demise, our inevitable death. Like being in an elevator that's free falling, not knowing when the elevator will hit the bottom, not knowing when we're going to die. So try to develop a motivation to make use of this perfect human rebirth tonight and the rest of my life with the highest aim in mind, out of a compassion for sentient beings, a sense of equality and empathy with them, recognizing their sufferings as very recognizable as our own. They've all been our mothers numberless times in the past. Even when they've been cranky enemies, they've been kind to us in allowing us to ripen negative karma right now rather than in the hell realms. They've been kind when they were strangers and building our roads, delivering our milk and paying our salaries. Think how wonderful it would be to achieve enlightenment, Bodhi, omniscience, from which state I can effortlessly and spontaneously work for their benefit. That's my Mahayana goal, long-term goal. And in the interim, tonight, I'm going to pay attention with that, still that goal in mind of achieving enlightenment, to discussion from Pabonka Rinpoche's great treatise, especially about the benefits of Buddhichita and the accompanying ideas around that. Try to set a motivation. I'm going to participate this evening, listening, contemplating, meditating with concentration for the benefit of all sentient beings, to get closer to enlightenment for their sake. And then bring your attention back to the present. Got a full house. 25. Wow. Hi, some people I didn't see before. Patty and William, Sweet, Barbara, Ryan. Laura, you were there before. You went off and came back, I guess. Okay, so any questions left over from previous talks that Geshe-la has been giving? Any sort of qualms, doubts that you have? You can either put up your hand or there's some kind of icon you can put up, or you can just blurt out. If no one else is talking, you can unmute and oh, there's even more people. I see. I have one of two screens. Okay. Anyone have a question? I can't see everyone at the same time. Okay. No one wants to make a go for it. Okay. So, dear Donna has said that we were up with Geshe-la up to, what is it, Donna? What, 446? That's where we're about to start?
Yeah, 446 or 447.
Okay, so what I wanted to do is just go back a couple of pages to make a correction from the text. David Gonzalez was a friend of mine who translated this text. In the later years of his life, he became a monk, passed away a few years ago, and was responsible for translating almost by himself with the help of another Tibetan Geshe many texts. But inevitably there weren't other people that edited his text, so there were some things that slipped under the door or whatever. So I wanted to talk about a verse on 442. I'll read you what David has here. Atisha the Great, so that's just a way of referring to Guru Atisha, the great Guru Atisha, stated, those fortunate beings who wish to enter the gateway of the Mahayana Dharma should sincerely and repeatedly generate Bodhichitta, which is like the sun and the moon. Okay. One line of this 4-line stanza was left out, so I will read you from the Tibetan. It's more like this. Those desiring to enter the door of the Mahayana, the word Dharma is not there. Those who wish to enter the door of the Mahayana usually we talk about the door, the entryway to the Mahayana is the generation of Bodhichitta, right? So anyway, those desiring to enter the door of the Mahayana, it is fitting to generate the sun, the moon and sun-like Bodhichitta that eliminates darkness and pacifies torment. Those are the words that are missing. Even with to generate that with effort, even for eons. A couple of those words were not in David's translation. So the sense of this is Bodhicitta is like the backbone, the life energy of the Mahayana path. Without developing bodhicitta, no matter what we do, even we practice highest sophisticated teachings of Tantra or, psychic heat or Tumo or, highest yoga Tantra, there is no way that even through those very sophisticated practices, we can achieve enlightenment unless we have developed bodhicitta. So it is worthwhile, it is fitting, it is right to even spend eons to develop bodhicitta. Lama Zopa Rinpoche says many times, even if you have to spend several lives developing one of the subsidiary limbs of developing bodhicitta, such as equanimity, seeing all sentient beings, friends, enemy, and strangers as equal, even if you have to spend many lifetimes developing that, it's fitting, it's worthwhile. Here it's going further. It's even to get to the whole process of developing bodhicitta, it's even worth, with effort, spending eons. So not to feel frustrated right now. You think, oh, I didn't get it. I've listened to the lecture on bodhicitta 5 times and I can't develop it yet. It's not possible. It may take a long, long, long time. So I notice my picture is freezing up. Can you still hear my voice? Yeah, okay. So sometimes maybe in my Airbnb here where I am, the internet connection is, the video part loses a little. Okay, I just wanted to mention that. And in the lines after that, on page 442, it says, previously, when Atisha was staying in Tibet, an Indian acharya, that means an Indian scholar, arrived. And in parentheses, it says, he and Dromdenpa had a long discussion one evening. The Tibetan actually says that the Indian scholar had a discussion with Atisha, not with Dromdenpa. Makes sense because Atisha was Indian and the Indian scholar is going to talk to him in Sanskrit rather than to Dromdenpa in Tibetan. The following day, and David's translation says, Atisha asked Dromdenpa, actually, Dromdenpa asked Atisha what they had talked about, what Atisha talked about with the Acharya yesterday. Kind of said, what'd you guys talk about? And actually, Atisha replied, very surprised. He said, the Acharya told him that amazingly, there was a yogi of Hevajra Tantra. Have you heard of Hevajra? Any of you guys? Patrick, have you heard of Hevajra? One of the highest yoga tantras. It's the one that Tumo teachings come from. In the Gelugpa tradition, we have Yamataka and Heruka, and Hevajra is one that is of the 4 deities around Lama Tsongkhapa, where the Tumo teachings came from. So very, very high teachings. There was a yogi of Hevajra who had achieved the result of stream enterer, which means he'd entered the Hinayana path. He didn't achieve enlightenment. He entered the Hinayana path. Astonished. So Atisha was astonished by that. I won't go through some of the other corrections there. I just wanted to mention those things. The point being that this yogi, had he had bodhicitta, he might have achieved enlightenment in that very lifetime. But without bodhicitta, even practicing these very high teachings, the most he could do was, instead of, which is a possible defect of practicing without bodhicitta, even being born as a spirit, like a wrathful spirit that has the visage of the deity that you're meditating on. So, Atisha was surprised by that. So I just wanted to give that first. So we're going to go up to page 446 now. And one of the other advantages or the qualities of developing bodhicitta. So what's the point of talking about these qualities of bodhicitta? Let's just say, say for someone who wants to sell you a car, let's say, if you had this car, you could go to the beach by yourself. You could get a job, you could make money, you could tell all of the advantages of it that can encourage someone to develop the aspiration to get that car. So here we're talking about aspiration to develop bodhicitta. So one of the qualities is that we will become a supreme object of veneration. Now you might say, well, Buddhists, especially Mahayana Buddhists, we're supposed to be humble. Why should we want to be an object of veneration? This is just so showing how other people view bodhisattvas, those who have developed bodhicitta. All the great beings, such as the gods, say the desire realm gods, the form realm gods, formless realm gods, they don't have any communication with us, but Brahma is in the form realm, Indra is in the desire realm. So the desire and form realm gods, the humans, nagas, and so forth, bow to the person who's generated bodhicitta. No one's going to bow to me. I don't know if you have gods or nagas or animals bowing to you. Even the Buddhas are born in dependence upon bodhicitta. Therefore, because bodhicitta is the cause of the Tathagatas, Tathagata is another synonym for Buddhas, right? Because bodhicitta is the cause of the Tathagatas also prostrate, bow to the bodhisattvas who have generated bodhicitta. As the Jewel Heap Sutra, maybe you know it by the Ratnakutra Sutra, says, Kashyapya, that was one of the disciples of the Buddha, one of the Mahayana disciples, very, very wise. Kashyapya, prostrate to the new moon and not the full moon. He says, just as. So there's a sort of legend in India that the full moon, of course, is great, shines. Here, the full moon is likened to a fully enlightened Buddha. Of course, we prostrate to the Buddha, but in the cycle of the moon, when the first crescent comes after the new moon, black, no light, first crescent comes, people say, things are getting better. So it's said that they, in the same way that people appreciate and pay homage to the crescent moon, also the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, pay homage to the new Bodhisattva. Lama Yeshe used to say that when he would, he'd put his hands together at his heart and we say namaste, like in India, namaste, prostrating. I've got prostate cancer on my mind. Prostrating to the initial, even before bodhicitta, even developing compassion, some semblance of good mind. So again, the Ratnakutra, the Jeweled Heap Sutra states Ananda. So here the Buddha is talking to his attendant Ananda. If a bodhisattva sat in a chariot and enjoyed a feast with the 5 sense objects, you know what the 5 sense objects are? Joyce, do you know? Objects of sight, beautiful sights, things to hear, things to smell, things to taste, touch. So the 5 sense objects. And enjoyed the presence of a woman, or if you were a woman, the presence of a man, some handsome guy or beautiful woman. And there were no one else to pull his chariot, Ananda, I, the Tathagata, would carry that chariot of that bodhisattva on my head. This comes up many times in the scriptures that if a bodhisattva, someone who's actually developed bodhicitta, and because of the effort involved in working for sentient beings, is tired and wants to take a little rest, enjoy a good movie, some ice cream, I don't know what else, the various pleasures of the senses, companionship of the opposite sex. The Buddhas would actually help them with that enjoyment so that they could relax, because they know that they are headed toward enlightenment. Yet even if the elders Shariputra and Maudgalyana, do you know who they are? William, do you know Shariputra and Maudgalyana? Who are they?
Yeah, the disciples.
Yeah, they were the
Buddha.
Hinayana disciples, right?
Yeah.
Let me put the volume up a little bit. So even if the elders Shariputra and Maudgalyana remained for more than an eon with their 3 doors, their body, speech, and mind, in a state of complete liberation, that means they'd achieved nirvana, the Tathagata would not diligently perform acts of veneration and service. They're doing okay. They're in nirvana, but they're not headed toward enlightenment. So the Tathagatas would not act to venerate them. Shantideva's Bodhisattva Charyavatara, Guide to the Bodhisattva Ways of Life, states, if anyone who repays the kindness shown to them, even sometimes, occasionally, is worthy of praise. We recognize that there's some people, once in a while they repay the kindness shown to them. They say thank you, or they do something for another person. We consider that person to be good-hearted, right? Good. What need is there to mention a bodhisattva who does so perfectly, even when not required, who works for the benefit to bring all happiness to all sentient beings constantly? What need is there to say that they are worthy of praise? Okay, that's the gist of that. So in reading this book, if you can augment it with reading other versions of the Lamrim, the stages of the path, where these advantages of Bodhicitta are mentioned, maybe different quotes, maybe translated to slightly different words. Sometimes the different words may resonate with us more. So it's always worth going to those other sources. So having developed, if we were to develop Bodhicitta, we would become a supreme object of veneration of the gods, of animals, the other humans, and the Buddhas themselves. The next benefit on 447. Bodhicitta is the supreme means of accumulating merit. Sometimes people are engaged in preliminary practices, making 100,000 water bowls, 100,000 prostration, 100,000 mandala offerings, and so forth to accumulate merit. Why do they do that? Anyone know? Nico, why do people accumulate merit.
To clear obscurations and past negative karma.
Yeah, so connected, purifying karma is one thing, accumulating merit is another. They kind of get down to the same thing. If you accumulate merit, it does indirectly purify negative karma. If you purify negative karma, it's indirectly accumulates merit, but they can be thought of as separate practices. We accumulate merit to develop the sort of the material cause of realizations, to be able to make realizations. You know, so that's the energy that gives them. Purifying obscurations, purifying negative karma also is involved in that, eliminating the things that obstacles that prevent that. So bodhicitta is the supreme means of developing, of accumulating merit, virtuous karma. So the text says, if you generate this mind, the mind of bodhicitta, it becomes the supreme means of accumulating merit. Shantideva stated in his Bodhisattvacharya Vatara, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, whoever perfectly adopts that mind of, here is just talking about aspiring bodhicitta, not even engaging bodhicitta, whoever perfectly adopts that mind, from that moment on, even while asleep, or even if careless, even if that person is careless, sort of like not paying attention, a continuous stream of powerful merit will flow that is equal to the extent of space. Did you know this? Some of you knew this. Jill, did you know this?
I don't know the direct quote about that, but it sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar. So when we take vows, like say the lay vows of not, what are they? Not killing, not lying, not stealing, not engaging in sexual misconduct, not taking intoxicants and so forth. When you make a vow to do that, even when you're not in a position to kill or steal, by the force of having promised and made a firm determination not to do that, you accumulate merit. With bodhicitta, it is a similar kind of thing. Having vowed to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, from that time on, and unless the bodhicitta degenerates, which is possible at the beginning stages of the bodhisattva, the very, very beginning stages, it's possible for the bodhicitta to degenerate. But once you've developed bodhicitta, every instant, whether you're asleep, inebriated, careless, whatever, you are accumulating by the force of your vow, which is still within your mind stream, you're accumulating vast quantities of merit. In one of the texts that Jeffrey Hopkins translated, what's it called? Not Compassion in Tibetan Buddhism, I can't remember. One half of the book is Lama Tsongkhapa's, the first part of Lama Tsongkhapa's explanation about the six perfections. The first part is talking about the teachings of a Tibetan geshe about compassion and wisdom. The geshe said, if you can augment your bodhicitta or compassion with the wisdom of emptiness, so you have the two, that it will accumulate even more merit. Like, I think he even mentioned 14 times more. I'm not sure why 14 more merit. So, but here we're just talking about bodhicitta. Whoever perfectly adopts the mind of bodhicitta, from that moment on, even when asleep or if careless, a continuous stream of powerful merit will flow that is equal to the extent of space. You attain such benefits even from aspiring bodhicitta. Neil, you know the difference between aspiring bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta?
I don't.
You don't. Does anyone? Is that something that some of the older students may know? Aspiring bodhicitta is just making the wish. I wish I would achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. That itself, most people in the world would never even, especially someone on Wall Street who's mainly interested in making money or something, would never even contemplate. But engaging bodhicitta is when you actually then recognize that in order to achieve that goal, you've got to do something. You've got to practice the 6 perfections of the Bodhisattva. You've got to practice what's called the Mahayana morality of, the Threefold Morality. Do you know what that is? Who knows? Ryan, have you studied Buddhism very long? Ryan Draper?
I like to think so.
So what is the Threefold Mahayana morality? What does that mean?
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's a good answer. Honest answer. So generally in the Hinayana, we talk about morality as abstaining from negative actions. In the Mahayana, it's more extensive. Abstaining from negative actions is one. Accumulating virtuous qualities, which means accumulating virtuous karma, and also techniques, how to help sentient beings, and then benefiting sentient beings. That's called the Threefold Mahayana morality. So those are ways that once you have aspiring bodhicitta, you don't necessarily engage in those activities of collecting virtuous karma, benefiting sentient beings. You just have the wish, someday I must achieve enlightenment. But when you actually engage on the path, that's called entering or engaging bodhicitta. Sometimes it's likened to like wanting to go to Nepal, visit Kopan or India or something. That's like an aspiring bodhicitta. But actually going to the airline, buying the ticket, getting your vaccination, your visa and everything, starting off on the journey, even though you haven't gotten there yet, that's like engaging bodhicitta. Okay. So you attain such benefits even from aspiring bodhicitta, just wishing. Furthermore, Shantideva's text says, if even just the thought to dispel the mere headache of living beings is such a beneficial intention that transforms into limitless merit, what need is there to mention wishing to dispel the limitless unhappiness of each and every living being, and the wish to produce limitless good qualities in each and every one of them. So the reference here in that quotation is a story from the sutras, the Buddhist sutras. If I put my hand at my cheek, it disappears sometime. The story is that someone, I won't tell the whole story, but generally they saw someone who was experiencing incredible pain in their head, and the thought arose in them, I would like to eliminate that. I would like to eliminate that. Just for one person, one particular suffering that is said to have accumulated just enormous amount of merit. We may have that in everyday life today, but oftentimes for our loved ones, maybe not necessarily for strangers or enemies, right? Maybe sometimes people of good heart, but the bodhisattva who wishes, if even just wanting to get rid of one suffering for one sentient being, accumulates incredible amount of merit. What about the limit? what need is there to mention to the thought to dispel the limitless unhappiness of all sentient beings, each and every living being, and the wish to produce limitless good qualities in each and every one of them. So Bodhicitta has that kind of vast sphere. Then the text goes on to say, if, as this states, even generating just the altruistic intention to merely eliminate the headache of a single living being produces merit, then if we generate the intention to dispel all suffering of every living being and establish every living being in every form of happiness, the amount of merit that this would create would be limitless. Makes sense, right? Anyone confused about that? I can't see. I have to look in two different screens here to see everyone. Okay. So then it goes on to say on 448, just three lines down, previously when the compassionate teacher, who's that? It's talking about the Buddha, right? Compassionate teacher, was born as the Brahmin youth named Star. Well, that's English, right? The Tibetan word is karma. There's a Sanskrit word for that also. It probably had a Sanskrit name that we would translate today as star. So this is talking about from the Jataka tales, you know, the life stories of the Bodhisattva that eventually became Shakyamuni Buddha when he was still a Bodhisattva. All the lives that he lived, sometimes born as an animal, in the God realm, in the hell realms, many times as a human doing altruistic activities, always to help sentient beings constantly. So previously, when the Buddha was born as a Brahmin named Star, due to his strong attachment to a girl, he had to defer practicing celibacy for 12 years, which delayed his accumulation of merit by 10,000 years. What does that mean? Celibacy, generally in the West, celibacy means not engaging in any sexual activity, right? The word in Sanskrit and in Buddhism is brahmacharya, pure conduct. So it includes other things also, not just abstaining from sexual activity. Due to his strong attachment to the girl, he had to defer practicing celibacy or brahmacharya for 12 years, which delayed his accumulation of merit for 10,000 eons. Yeah, keeping very pure conduct for 12 years it would have shortened by eons, 10,000 eons, the time he had to spend in cyclic existence. Once again, when he was born as a boat captain with very strong compassion, he killed an evil man named Dungtog, taken 100,000 eons. Sorry, I skipped a line. He killed an evil man named Duntog, Chen, and thus completed the accumulation of merit that would have taken 100,000 eons to accumulate. What's that talking about? You've probably heard this story, some of the older students. Barbara, have you heard this story? Anthony's nodding. Do you know the story he's talking about? Barbara? Anthony, can you tell this story?
From what I can remember about it, he was a captain on a boat, merchant ship, with a lot of sailors with him, and apparently, I guess his name Dung Tug had the intention to murder and steal, I guess, the goods that they were bringing, and so out of compassion for him,
not just steal the things, but kill the whole crew.
And so he killed him to prevent him from accumulating that negative karma and merit, and took it on himself, which was a good act instead of being an evil one.
Right. So generally, killing is a negative action, right? But bodhisattvas have a particular vow that for the benefit of sentient beings, even if they have to accumulate one of the actions of body and speech, negative actions of body and speech, which are what? Killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, slander, abuse, idle gossip. Even if they have to perform one of those actions, if it's to benefit sentient beings, they must do so. They take a vow to do that, knowing that they've accumulated negative karma and that may affect them, but they do so, well, like in TV dramas, on a criminal show or something, the mother says, "Oh, I killed that person." They take the burden, they say, "I did that," in order to protect their child, right? Here, the Bodhisattva actually will do negative actions in order to benefit a greater number of people. So in order to benefit the whole crew, knowing that this brigand on the boat was not going to stop. He was going to try to scuttle the entire boat, kill everyone, and get off with all of the jewels on the boat and everything. So in doing so, although he initially developed a mind, a negative thought to kill, because of the greater intention, he actually accumulated virtuous karma.
Venerable George,
Yes.
there's a question that came up on the YouTube stream. You had mentioned, well, I'll just ask the question. It says, may I ask why it's possible in the early stages for merit to dissipate when later it can keep flowing?
In the initial stages for merit to dissipate. So not sure exactly what the person heard. What the book was talking about was when you develop bodhicitta, you have a continuous generation of virtuous karma, even when you're not thinking about benefiting others right now, because you've had that initial motivation in the past, that sort of inertia that started you on this path. You were doing it for the benefit of sentient beings, so you continuously generate virtuous karma. If you don't have that initial kind of intention, simply sitting right now, we don't accumulate any virtuous karma. But if we had made an intention that we're working for the benefit of sentient beings in order to achieve enlightenment for their sake, every moment, even you're sitting not doing anything, even your mind is wandering, you create virtuous karma. I'm not sure that answers the question. If the person had a more specific take on it, they can maybe send another message to Donna. But let me continue on, okay? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So remember what this section is called here. This says, Bodhicitta is the supreme means of accumulating merit. So if you have bodhicitta, even if you perform with knowledge, negative actions of body and speech, not negative actions of mind, but negative actions of body and speech, with the intention of bringing about the greater welfare, like the boat captain killing this one bad man for the sake of the entire crew, you accumulate incredible merit. Not only that, but again, Shantideva's text, the Bodhisattva Charyavatara says, in the everyday act of giving a tiny morsel of food, even just once to a few beings for half a day, and in a disrespectful way, is a deed of satiation. I'm not sure what he's translating as satiation. Is considered to be something that has brought some benefit to others, called an act of virtue and respected by beings. So what does that mean? Even if you see some and excuse me if any of you, do any of you work on Wall Street? I don't know. I'm going to use that as an example. Say if you were a, Wall Street guy or gal, and you outside of the whatever it's called, where you go on Wall Street, you see some beggars and you take a few, just the change in your pocket and you toss it on the ground in front of them disrespectfully. Others will say, oh, very, very kind, very generous, right? If everyday act of giving even a tiny morsel of food, even just once to a few beings for half a day, where you bring just something, you toss your leftover, you give your leftover coffee to a beggar on the street, or what's left of your bagel or something like that. Such a thing is called an act of virtue. So if that's the case, what need is there to mention the eternal gift of the unsurpassed bliss of the Sugatas? Sugata is another epithet, another name for the Buddhas, right? Sugata, those who have gone to excellence. What need is there to mention the eternal gift of the unsurpassed bliss of the Sugatas to countless living beings for a long time, which completely fulfills all of their wishes? So you can kind of weigh in your mind, if it's considered to be generous just to give to help out in the soup kitchen, maybe sometimes being disrespectful to some of the people, maybe not. What is, weigh that in comparison to working for the welfare of all sentient beings to bring them the bliss of enlightenment, the state of a Sugata, even if it takes over a long, long period of time. So, it's incomparable. Then quotation from Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna was a great Buddhist saint, especially that revived Buddhist teachings about the middle way philosophy about emptiness. Nagarjuna states, even the conqueror, that means the Buddha, who's conquered all of the delusions, even the conqueror cannot calculate the massive merit of a being who meditates on Bodhichitta for just one instant. You might say, well, maybe the Buddha is not omniscient. He can't calculate that. He can't understand that. That's not the point. What it means is that the amount of merit that one accumulates meditating on Bodhichitta for one instant is immeasurable. Even the Buddha can't tell you with numbers how much that is. It's said that even having a thought of loving kindness, not talking about Bodhichitta yet, loving kindness or compassion for one thought instant, sincerely wishing sentient beings to be conjoined with happiness, wishing them to be free of suffering, even for one instant, but sincerely, accumulates more merit than most people accumulate in their entire life. Even some other spiritual beings who don't practice sincerely. So even meditating on love and compassion alone, let alone Bodhichitta, where you're wishing to achieve enlightenment for their sake, there's no need to mention how great an amount of merit that accumulates. How are we doing? Okay. Any doubts? Questions? Patrick, are you okay?
I have a question. Susie.
Yes. Hi, Susie.
Thank you. When I'm thinking of merit, oceans of merit seems just fine to me, that you accumulate a huge amount. But
Right.
then if I think of eons of punishment, that seems so harsh. And it seems difficult to, sometimes the motivation to not do that. I mean, I don't want to do bad things.
So when you say, So oceans of merit, you can kind of contemplate that
That's
one
good.
can accumulate great vast quantities of merit. But what's this about eons of suffering? Was it?
Well, and that appears, it's hard to understand the motivation for being so harsh. I mean, it's a lot. But it seems as if
what do you think? What do you mean motivation for being so harsh? What's harsh? That someone could experience
the time that you will suffer. The numbers are so big.
Ogling. Okay, so so when you say harsh, it almost sounds like something that's motivated, like the Buddha is meting out punishment. That's right. That's not the case.
It's a law. Yeah.
It's like you throw your beer bottle up in the sky. My picture stopped again. There we go. You throw your beer bottle up in the sky, then later it comes down, crashes on your head, which you didn't see. My picture stopped again. You think, oh, that's harsh. What's harsh about that? That's the law of nature, right? What goes up must come down. Law of karma is, well, like what Christ said, purportedly said, ye reap what ye sow. You do good, good will come back to you. Not necessarily right away. There are a lot of people who do good in this lifetime and they get a lot of trouble from others. But definitely in future lives, that virtuous karma will ripen from their having done good, and they will experience it. If we do evil things, if we are harmful to others, we lie, steal. It sounds like some of our politicians or recent politicians, right? Inevitably, even if right now they're coasting on the karma of past lives and they're able to have some kind of pleasure, in the future they'll definitely experience the result of that, possibly for long periods of time.
I guess what I'm trying to say is the long period of time is just so it's a law. So
so look at it the other way. Positive. If you create certain kinds of virtuous karma, it's said that you will reborn as a Chakravartin emperor for 500 lifetimes. You might say that's too generous, rather than too harsh, But there are certain kinds of karma that have in the positive sense, which will have long-lasting results in the future, and there are negative actions which will have long-lasting negative results in the future, suffering results in the future. They're kind of, that will balance out, but virtue, here we're talking about bodhicitta as a supreme means of accumulating merit. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me continue on a little bit.
Venerable George, another question has come up. In the foundation of all good qualities, it says, even if I develop bodhicitta but don't practice the 3 types of morality, I will not achieve enlightenment. Wouldn't someone need to practice these 3 types of morality in order to develop bodhicitta?
So I'd mentioned before these 3 types of morality. So maybe that's what cued that person remembering that verse. So what that means is if you have the aspiring bodhicitta alone, wishing to achieve enlightenment, but you don't do anything about it. You don't go out and buy your ticket for the airplane. You don't get your visa. You don't get your passport. You don't get your vaccinations. You just, I'm going to go to India someday, aspiring for enlightenment. When you actually engage in the path, that's when you begin to one of the essential things is to practice these 3 Mahayana moral codes: abstaining from negative actions, accumulating virtuous dharmas, and benefiting sentient beings. all of the 6 perfections can be included in those 3. So it essentially means engaging in the Bodhisattva's activities rather than just thinking, I'm going to achieve enlightenment someday and not doing anything about it. Actually beginning the work that will bring that about. You have to accumulate merit. You have to purify negative karma. You have to benefit sentient beings. Okay? Maybe not. Maybe the person who asked won't be satisfied completely, but well, let's go continue on for a second. So at the bottom of 448, the last paragraph, the merit of even merely generating Bodhichitta is limitless. So in our initial motivation this evening, thinking I'm going to listen to this class, participate in order to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. If you actually could generate that, it's the merit of that is limitless. That's why at the end of the class today, we'll dedicate our merit so that it's not just lost in the ether. Even by offering a single bundle of incense for the welfare of all living beings, you obtain merit equal to the merit that would be accumulated by each one of those countless beings offering his or her own bundle of incense. Does it make sense? So if you offer to the Buddhas incense at your altar for the sake of all sentient beings, numberless sentient beings, you accumulate, let's say equal to, you accumulate merit equal to if each and every one of those sentient beings were to offer a single bundle of merit of incense to the Buddha. That would be a lot. Limitless sentient beings, it's a lot of incense, right? Maybe you have to get the fans on. There'd be so much incense smoke going on. Then on page 449, through being enveloped by bodhicitta, held by bodhicitta, that means your mind is enveloped or saturated by bodhicitta. Even giving a leftover scrap of food to a dog becomes a bodhisattva deed. It becomes a cause for the attainment of enlightenment. So maybe the quote comes later, but it's often said that even giving a couple of grains, so you've had your lunch, you've got a little bit of rice grains, cooked rice on your plate, and you give them to the ants in a little, what do you call it, coming out of the ground, and they jump on that. You do that with bodhicitta motivation, not just so they'll be happy, but thinking, by so doing, by this act of generosity, may I achieve enlightenment for the succor, the well-being of all sentient beings. That action becomes immeasurably more meritorious. Shantideva says in the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, like a supreme elixir that transforms, well, usually we say transforms lead into gold, right? Metal, iron into gold. Firmly grasp this thing called bodhicitta that transforms this impure human body we have into the priceless jewel of the conqueror's body. It's interesting, if you look at alchemy, history of alchemy, people are always talking about finding the philosopher's stone that can transmute either iron or lead into gold, right? Have you ever heard of that? In the Middle Ages? Maybe some people even looking today, I don't know. It's understood philosophically in religious terms, say in Buddhist terms, what that is, that's an analogy to the transformation of our impure body and mind now into the state of Buddhahood, where even the body is an emanation of the mind. It's totally pure, and the mind is totally pure. So that's why it's talking about here the elixir that transforms into gold. Since the immeasurable mind of the sole guide of migrating beings, who's the sole guide of migrating beings? It's the Buddha. Since the Buddha investigated thoroughly and discovered the great value of this precious bodhicitta, those with the desire to be free from the abodes of migrating beings should firmly grasp this excellent mind. So some food for thought, bodhicitta. So we talked about, because of the advantage of bodhicitta is that we'll become a supreme object of veneration. Now bodhicitta is the supreme means of accumulating merit. Now, another benefit, we will quickly purify our negative karma and obscurations. So in answer to one of your questions before, you were talking about is merit, is it purification, or purification or accumulation of merit? So there are various means to purify negative karma, right? Rodney, do you know, or Romney? Is it Romney? Romney, do you know what are the general means to purify negative karma?
Positive karma.
You could say that, but you don't know. What if I said the 5 or 4? What is it called? Opponent forces.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Oh, you don't know anything about that. Okay. So generally, if we've accumulated negative karma, it's not as though there's no way to get rid of it. There are ways to purify negative karma so that either it reduces in intensity or completely is eliminated from our mind stream. Those are called the 4 opponent forces. Who knows? Elise, do you know the 4 opponent forces?
I think the first is to take refuge. Then you recognize what you did wrong. You resolve not to do it again, and you do the remedy if possible.
That's good. Yeah. So the first one includes not only refuge, but bodhicitta. It's called the power of the support. So if you've fallen down on the ground, how do you get up? You have to rely on the ground to get up. You have to push down on the ground to get up, right? So with respect to negative actions that we have created with respect to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, the power to purify that is by taking refuge in them again and again, thinking this, the Dharma is the actual refuge. The Buddha is the teacher of that. The Sangha are like the nurses that help me take that medicine. If you've created negative actions with respect to sentient beings, how can you rely on sentient beings to purify that? By generating Bodhichitta. So those two are called the force of reliance, relying on Bodhichitta and refuge and Bodhichitta. Then, as you said, the force of regret, recognizing what we created, maybe even just recently. You get angry on the phone, or you argue with someone, or you're tempted to take something, and you realize, ooh, I've created negative karma. That will definitely have a result on me in the future. I shouldn't have done that. I regret having done that. That's what's meant by the power of regret. That thought, even in the minute, at the moment when you're creating some negative karma, maybe you're talking bad to your friends or your mom or someone, and you realize, oh, I shouldn't be saying this. Even that alone starts to suppress the negative karma that you were creating. If you can meditate on that again and again and regret the negative actions you've done, that's the second opponent force, Brahmani. So not just accumulating merit, right? Taking refuge, generating bodhicitta, the power of regret or remorse, then the power of making a you could say vow or promise or strong, what do we call it at New Year's? What is it called? New Year's resolution. Not to do that again. Of course, our New Year's resolutions, or if one is dependent on alcohol or cigarettes or something, and you resolve to stop smoking, usually that's not enough generally, right? But resolving very strongly, seeing the defects of the negative actions that we've created, and making a very firm determination to guard one's mind, not to do that again in the future, that is another way of eliminating negative karma. Now, with these three alone, that will purify tremendously negative karma, but even something that still slips through, some negative karma that hasn't been purified, by performing virtuous actions as a remedy or an antidote to that. Like, say, for instance, you've stolen before and you think, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I've taken refuge and generated bodhicitta. I will try not to do that again in the future. But then you actually actively go out and give to others resources, money that maybe you stole or whatever, or in compensation for that. So in the future, if that negative karma that wasn't completely purified by the first three powers is still sort of niggling me there, the virtuous karma that you created and dedicated to it will be mixed with it. Like when you take two strings and you wind them together, a blue and a red string, you make some twine. What is it called? Like a, can't think of the name. So when the negative karma ripens in the future, your virtuous karma that you dedicated to purify that will ripen and compensate for that. Maybe the cops will catch you in the future for something, but then immediately something will come to your rescue. Someone will say, oh, but he's a good guy, or she's a good girl, or whatever. Some virtuous karma will ripen in proximity to that. So those are called the four opponent forces. Those are the general ways of purifying negative karma. So here, supreme way, we will quickly purify our negative karma and obscurations by generating bodhicitta. Even for purifying negative karma and obscuration, bodhicitta is supreme. Even the negativity that can't be purified through the great force of confession, so the confession would be using these four opponent forces, even negativity that can't be purified through the force of confession can instantly be purified through generating bodhicitta. So you've probably heard examples. Lama Zopa Rinpoche sometimes tells stories of people who have cancer or AIDS or something like this. And what's that the result of? Of course, there may be some physical conditions now, cooperative causes, but the fundamental cause is karma. My prostate cancer right now, fundamental cause of that is negative karma I've created in previous lifetimes. Even if you apply medicine and so forth, you haven't necessarily purified that negative karma. So the perfect way to purify that negative karma is by generating bodhicitta. One of the causes of bodhicitta, one of the meditations that brings bodhicitta into existence, called Tonglen. Have you heard of Tonglen? Who hasn't heard of Tonglen? Michael, have you heard of Tonglen? You have, okay. Anthony? Okay. So even doing yes. Tonglen, someone said it?
I said, yes, I've heard of it. It's the act of giving and taking.
Right. So imagine taking on the suffering of others Say if you've got AIDS or cancer, imagine, I've got this anyway. I'm going to, by my having this, may I absorb all the cancer of all living beings so they never will have to experience that again. And I will experience that for them. You do that out of compassion. And you give, you send out from your mind, from your body, maybe on your breath, all of your what's left of you that's healthy, your body, your possessions, your wealth, even your merit that you've created in the past, you're creating now and will create in the future, sending that out to sentient beings. It's called the practice of Tonglen. That alone, when Lama Zopa Rinpoche gives, even that's not bodhicitta itself, but very close to it. Sometimes people have had remission from AIDS, remission from cancer, from that kind of practice. So bodhicitta will quickly purify our negative karma. Bodhisattva Charyavatara says, our negativity is extremely powerful and enduring. Other than perfect bodhicitta, what other virtue can overcome it? And another place, like the fire at the end of time, at the end of the eon, a world system comes into existence, it has a period of abidance, a period of degeneration, and then at the end, there's a great fire that destroys all of the desire realm and parts of the form realm. At the fire at the end of time, here it says, bodhicitta definitely incinerates the great negativities like the fire at the end of time, which destroys everything. Bodhicitta definitely incinerates great negativities in an instant. So when the many suns appear in the sky and things become, the whole world incinerates, nothing survives that. Bodhicitta has a similar kind of quality of decimating negativity. A historical account also states that in India, a yogi of Guru Maitreya, so this is referring to this one great yogi that's called Maitri Yoga, Maitri Yogi. Instead of saying yogi, they say yogi. He was one of the gurus of Atisha. So yogi of great Maitreya was chanting and meditating on mind training while singing Vajra songs and sitting on the banks of the Ganges River. And by training his mind in nothing other than bodhicitta, he purified a vast amount of obscurations, as was confirmed by a direct vision of the protector Maitreya, the future Buddha Maitreya. Also, a Sangha practiced to see the protector Maitreya. Famous 12-year retreat, right? Kim, do you know that story? No? Giovanna? So Asanga, one of the two brothers, Asanga and Vasubandhu, Asanga was a practitioner of the Mahayana and motivated by his mother who wanted to reinvigorate Mahayana in the world, he meditated for a long time how he could best benefit the Mahayana. And he in receiving a tantric initiation, the flower that he threw in the mandala fell on Maitreya. And he said, I have a karmic connection with Maitreya. So I'm going to meditate on Maitreya. He meditated on Maitreya for 3 years, didn't even have a good dream, kind of like my retreat. And at the end, when he was leaving, somehow he was inspired, like he saw a bird going into a little hole in the mountain, that had been the edges of the stone had been softened, eroded by the fluttering of the wings, numberless times going in, going out. You know this story now, some of you? And he said, if the wings of a bird can erode stone, I can realize Maitreya. So he turned around and went back to the cave, another 3 years. Didn't have any realization, left, came back, different visions like this as he was going, encouraged him to go back. After 12 years, he said, okay, this is it. Nothing, not even a good dream. And at that point, as he was leaving, he saw a mother dog. Usually they say bitch. That sounds like a bad word to me. It's a female dog whose body was covered with maggots from the sores on her body, and she was trying to feed her little pups. And because of his meditation over 12 years, it wasn't for naught that he'd meditated for 12 years. He developed incredible compassion. And he thought, oh, I want to eliminate the suffering of this dog, but I can't just take the maggots out with my fingers. I might kill them, picking up the maggots. So even though the smell was like rotting flesh, he closed his eyes, took his tongue to take off the maggots with his tongue. He kept on going. He couldn't find. He opened up his eyes, and the dog was gone, and Maitreya was standing there. He actually had a vision of Maitreya, and his first response would be kind of like my response: "Where were you all these 12 years?" And Maitreya said, "Just look at my robes. When you spat in the corner during those 12 years, that spittle fell on my robes. Here's proof." So Maitreya took him up to Tushita heaven, where he received these famous 5 texts of Maitreya. So this is kind of talking about that. Where are we? Also, a Sangha practiced to see the protector Maitreya for 12 years, whereby he encountered a female dog with a broken hind leg and infested by worms. Moved by his powerful compassion, he purified his severe obscurations and immediately had a direct vision of protector Maitreya. Okay, so you can kind of understand the context. I'll just finish this up quickly because we're getting close to 8:30. A yogi named Nyuk Rumpa said, if you give rise to this bodhicitta once, you accumulate the collection of merit, you purify the obscurations, and you dispel obstacles. Shantideva also stated in his Bodhisattva Charitatara, having considered it for many eons, the Buddhas perceived that only this is beneficial. Only bodhicitta. So like the verse I added some words to at the beginning, even if you have to endeavor for eons to generate bodhicitta, which dispels the darkness of mind and pacifies torment, it is right, it is fitting to do that. The Buddha Bhagavans thought about what is beneficial for all living beings to attain the state of enlightenment, and having considered this for many eons, they perceived that bodhicitta alone is the greatest benefit. Having perceived this became what they primarily teach. Okay, enough gobbledygook. Any questions, thoughts, comments, corrections? Yeah, Kim.
So this is a detail, but when with the captain of the ship who killed the brigand,
right,
and was willing to take on all of his negative karma in order to save the lives of
what he was willing to do was create a negative, what he knew was a negative action of killing, even if the Bodhisattva, who was the captain, thought, even if I have to experience rebirth in hell to save all of these people, I will do it. This is beneficial for more people. So it wasn't that he was taking on the negative karma of the brigand. He was willing to create that negative action of body, of killing. Okay?
Right, and a negative action of killing normally is coincides with negative karmic consequences, correct?
Right, right.
So, but in this case, he didn't take on any of that negative karmic
He
consequence.
didn't experience any of the karmic results. So there are two interpretations in the scriptures. One says that as a result of that, in the next life, he was born in the hell realm for one instant and immediately died from the hell realm and was reborn as a human.
Okay.
Because of the power of the Buddhichita, saying that there was still some negative karma. Other interpretation is that there was no negative karma created because the motivation of Bodhicitta superseded, had stronger power than the negative intention to take a life. Because generally, in order to take a life, you have to have that intention, which is the intention of ceasing a life energy. This is what we call murder. So generally, that state of mind creates negative karma. But because it was motivated out of this altruistic intention to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, that superseded that, and he didn't even take, the other interpretation is he did not even take rebirth in the lower realms. He accumulated a vast accumulation of merit and got closer to enlightenment.
Okay, thank you. Because for me, the bottom line of that story is how important intention and motivation is.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, very much. Anyone else? I'll look at the other screen here. No one have a question? Wow, nice questions and a lot of attentiveness. I hope I didn't go beyond what Geshe-la wished. We'll have next week and the week after that, I'll be here with you, and then Geshe-la will be over his staycation. He has a chance now to relax for a couple of weeks, not worry about anything. So let's end with a brief mental dedication, and if afterwards Donna wants to say some prayers, some very short prayers that are, traditionally said. Generally, saying these dedication prayers is good if you know the meaning, but in order to know the meaning, you have to meditate. So this is a way to meditate. So sit, relax again as we did at the beginning. Relax your body and mind. And take to mind the fact that we have created this evening a vast store of virtuous karma. We've had some virtuous thoughts, even if we're skeptical or not, we've created some virtue this evening. That merit will definitely ripen within cyclic existence as something pleasurable in the future. But that may ripen in such a way that I'm very handsome or beautiful in the future, and that unless I dedicate that merit, that beauty or good looks may become the cause of my ego, pride and so forth. Or if in the future I find wealth, that may become the cause of my, again, developing pride and miserliness and so forth. Whatever way this merit ripens, may it become the cause of my continued spiritual development, life by life, up to and including the state of enlightenment. May this merit become eventually still contributing to my final achievement of enlightenment for the sake of all living beings. Kind of like the reins of a horse that can pull the horse in the direction we want, not letting the karma, the horse of karma, just ripen in whatever way that may be, that just may arise by chance, but motivating, dedicating, directing it to ripen in a particular way. Due to these merits, may I quickly become a Guru Buddha and lead each and every sentient being into that very same state. Thank you. And Donna, do you need to say some final?
That was such a beautiful dedication.
Okay, enough. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, so I've just gone over 2 minutes. So that's not too bad. So thank you so much. I hope I didn't bore you, and look forward to seeing you again next week. Also, I'll be substituting for Geshe-la this Sunday and the following Sunday on the Sunday morning Zoom class. Zoom Sunday GoToMeeting. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, George.
Venerable George, thank you.
Thank you, Venerable
Thank you.
George.
Thank you very
Nice
much.
to you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Venerable